Western Spring Television. Ours it is.
Thank God. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, world. We are very delighted to be back on the program today, Morning Spring on Western Spring Television. This is where we talk about everything that has to do, with the betterment of this nation, Nigeria, the people, stakeholders, issues, all geared towards having a functioning nation, good people, great nation, the kind of nation that we are proud of, and that is our duty, utmost concern here. And on the program, it's in two segments: the newspaper headline segment, where we churn out, reel out stories, headlines from the major dailies in Nigeria every day. And of course, we then get talking, about the issues of the day. Trust us to do justice to everything in an unbiased manner. Here on Western Spring Television, channel 190 on Star Times DTT. Femi Ojo is my name and gives us great pleasure. I mean us, because I'm not alone. Evelyn is here. Good morning.
Good morning, Femi. How are you doing
Bonjour,
today?
madame.
Bonjour, monsieur. How are you doing? Comment ça va?
We thank God.
You started what you couldn't finish.
Yeah.
Welcome, people. It's another beautiful Monday morning right here in the beautiful city of Osogbo. And of course, if you are watching us from anywhere around the world, I'm sure it is a beautiful morning or afternoon or evening, wherever you may be. My name is Evelyn Ohiolei, welcoming you specially today. The code for today is 8724, and that is today's date.
Very well. And, in this life, have somebody that have your back. I've already spoken my little French. You respond, don't ask me anything. But I remember that Sava. I was supposed to say Sava bien merci. Is that not?
Yeah, et toi?
Okay.
Let's
focus on why we are here and why we are paid, not to speak French, but to speak to issues. By the way, we'll be diving straight to the newspaper segment shortly, and that will be after now. Stay with us. All right, I'll be kicking off the headline segment on this program for this morning by taking up the Vanguard newspaper, and quite colorful and very detailed as well. Brewing industry choking over high cost of raw materials. That again, brewing industry choking over high cost of raw materials. It seems the thing going around the economic spaces and industries, and the endeavor has gone, to over, and is affecting the brewing industry as well. It is what we are seeing this morning. Expenses rise 113% to 188 billion naira. An importation alternative stifled by high exchange rate. Top brewers borrow 812 billion naira to survive, and loan repayment cost rises 191%. Losses escalate by 1,034%. Wow, that's a lot. And you can see the picture of a typical brewing industry, the facility there. All right, so moving on. Court orders ex-minister to account for 729 billion naira, right, and kidnap journalist. Police comb forest as NUJ demands release. It's a sad situation at the weekend when we hear a colleague of ours, when we learned rather, were kidnapped, two of them with their families as well. And it is what we are seeing at this time. Nobody wants to experience or imagine. You can't even imagine the trauma those people are going through. Different journalists working for different media outlets, and they are kidnapped with their family members. It speaks to what we have always been saying: the security of human lives and properties. When criminals, Evelyn, can just, like, they're roaming wide. like unchecked.
Yeah.
We're hearing most of them, I mean, some of them being neutralized every now and then. But you keep wondering, is it that they are resurrecting somehow? 200 neutralized, 9 neutralized by the military, 14, sometimes in their thousands. But the same way we are hearing about those guys being killed, being neutralized, you still hearing they are still going ahead. Are they being recruited? When they are neutralized, is there a power that brings them back to life? What is really happening on this matter?
Yeah, it's a sad one. I mean, when I heard the news yesterday of how these criminals went ahead into the area where these journalists are and went specifically to their house, and report says that their houses were not far apart. And it also speaks to the dangers of the job because according to the report, they were the only ones. I mean, their houses and their families were the only ones affected
They
in
were
their
targeted,
area.
obviously.
So we want to ask, why are those journalists affected, or why were they kidnapped? Is it for something they've written? Is it for monetary purposes? We really do not have all the information and the details right now, but whatever it is, it's actually a sad one that probably because of the job you do, you're being targeted. And we hope that the police and the security agencies will swing into action quickly and get them back and their families.
Yeah, and bring back our colleagues. That is our own plea from here this morning. And everyone, not just journalists, everyone, you know, in captivity unnecessarily. By the way, moving on, top strip. Why this nonsense must stop by Abiola. MKO 26 years after, you know, yesterday was a commemoration, 7-7, you know, I think 1998. Yeah, I remember we just finished a game, the FIFA World Cup in 1998. That was when, I think it was between France and Holland. If I remember, that was when that news filtered in later in the evening that MKO Abiola has passed. And so 26 years after, why this nonsense must stop, Abiola, his words on Mabel. All right. Insecurity, Tinubu task ECOWAS member states on financial commitment. We heard yesterday the head of government meeting of the ECOWAS sub-region was held, and President Tinubu was returned again as chairman. Why CBN insists on another recapitalization, Cardoso, and the humor part. Mr. and Mrs., it is the tradition among my people that sons-in-law must donate 2 big cows during burial ceremony, and I still have 2 grannies, 5 very old uncles, and 6 aunties of the same age bracket. That's from Mrs. and Mr. Response. We better set up a ranch then, you know, in as much you have these people, and sons-in-law must provide cows, big cows, and you have very old people that are yet to pass. Better set up a ranch. That is from Mr. And that will be all from the front page of the Vanguard for this morning.
All right, from the Vanguard newspaper this morning, we head on to the Punch. The Punch newspaper this morning, boldly written on the Punch newspaper, fuel scarcity looms as depots raise petrol price to 720 naira per litre. With double riders here, filling stations raise petrol prices as depots now sell 720 naira per litre, says IPMAN. And NNPC officials storm Lagos depots, ask marketers to prioritize Abuja. Anytime we hear, you know, headlines like these or reports like this, it's always scary to the ordinary Nigerian because we know how it is going to affect the daily lives of Nigeria, how it's going to affect commercial activities, and we'll start seeing the long queues in our filling station, and we'll start seeing kegs, you know, on the road, by the roadside. They call it black market. And people just want to get fuel no matter how. This is 2024 and we still have this issue in our hands. I mean, it's alarming. Away from that, budget, FG raises 1.2 trillion naira for capital project. And ECOWAS, Senegal, Togo, presidents to woo Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso. And the question will be, can they do this wooing very well? Varsities ball again as FG asked to meet workers' protest on Tuesday. Varsity boil again as FG Summit workers protest Tuesday. Mother, daughter killed in Ogun gas explosion, 2 hospitalized. Sad news this Monday morning. And flooding, FG activates states emergency centers. Governors order evacuation. It's, especially in Lagos and Ogun, they are really having a tough time with the floods over there. And the federal government has waded in and activating state emergency centers. I want to say, how proactive is this? Is this proactive enough, or is just reactive to the disaster that has already attacked? And lastly, on the Punch newspaper this morning, poverty alleviation. Court orders Buhari's minister to explain 729 billion naira disbursement. Court orders Buhari's minister to explain 729 billion naira disbursement. And this Sadia Umar Farouk, the former Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management, the court saying that she has to provide details of the over 20 million Nigerians that got this 729 billion naira, their estates, their houses, how the money was dispersed. I mean, it's all that. And fingers are crossed as to who got what, especially in Osun State, would like to know. Probably Femi got something and he did not share with me. I'm so going to, follow up on this particular report so I can know who got what. That will be all from the Punch newspaper.
All right, the way they say in the North, be similar. It means you can start and go ahead. These are the issues. But it's our money, so we must follow the money. Just like, there is a particular NGO that has this, their watchword as follow the money. And it doesn't matter if it's in 1992 or 2015 or in as much as Nigerian money. And everybody must come to equity. Tell us how you have done, especially that particular ministry and every other ministries as well. More than 700 billion naira. Wow, that's a lot. And I will be moving next to The Guardian. The Guardian newspaper is next. And it has different headlines. I'll start with this. Revenue expenditure mismatch. States may sack 600,000 employees to implement minimum wage. All right. This is one news that civil servants, people, they are dependent, we not want to hear. By the way, how many persons will say these are cheap blackmail as well? If you cut your coat the way you are supposed to do it, maybe people must still have their jobs and you will have to pay, what you are supposed to pay as well. Whatever is agreed on at the end of the day, there's this, the conversation has been deadlocked. 62,000 naira was the last offer of the organized labor and the government. And the labor is saying you can do far more better than that. And here we are. States may sack 600,000 employees to implement minimum wage. And the total IGRs of state in 2018, 1.1 trillion naira. 2019, 1.56 trillion naira. 2020, 1.21 trillion naira. 2021, 1.6 trillion naira. 2022, 1.8 trillion naira. Now, 2023 total state personnel cost was 1.94 trillion naira. And states with highest personnel cost to revenue ratio, Kano has 41%. That's personnel cost to their revenue, 41%. Imo 37, Adamawa 37, Taraba 37.2, Ogun 35.6. State with lowest personnel cost to revenue ratio, Akwa Ibom 15.6%. It means whatever they are spending is far lesser than what they are generating. 15% for Akwa Ibom, that's an oil-rich state. Ebonyi 16.4%, Bayelsa 16.4%, Lagos 16.6%, Anambra 17.6%. So if my economics knowledge is not too little or too rusty, if you are having, Evelyn, if a state is having 15.6% of its personnel cost to revenue ratio, and let's imagine you are paying 30,000 naira, right? and you are told to pay 62,000 naira now, and your personnel cost is 15.6, that means it will be double times 2. 30 point something, or if it's times 3, let's say 90,000 naira, it's still within 47% of your revenue, your personnel cost of revenue. So why we state like this say we might want to sack people?
Well, the mathematics may elude me right now, but I believe that
if you are spending 45% of your revenue for, for personnel cost, why would you want to sack anybody?
Then what will be for the capital projects? I mean,
what capital project are they doing? That's
that's another kettle of fish entirely. But
because many persons you see as a blackmail, you wouldn't say you are going to sack us because you can't pay. Tell us what you are doing.
There might
with
also
the rest.
be some arguments that when a state is using up to or close to half of its revenue or budget for personnel costs, then it's not good enough. It doesn't bring in any economy value to the state. So that might be their argument. But another kettle of fish is if really the capital projects that they have in the budget is being implemented or executed.
It's as simple as that. And of course, we might want to say, why sack the workers only? Will you cut down on political appointees as well?
Yes.
These are the issues. Will you, if you're having 30 commissioners, will you make them 15? If you do that, Nigerians will understand. But then, what do we know than to do what we are doing right now? And NDLA arrest couple, recovers 2.1 billion naira worth of drugs in Lagos raid. That's a lot. ECOWAS, Tinubu begins new mandate, tasked to return breakaway states. 3 states are broken away and they have formed their own confederation. I think Niger, Mali, and one of the states, Burkina Faso, having their own confederation. And he has been told, you are in charge when these nations broke away. Now you have another mandate, bring them back. Students' loan, 115 state-owned institutions yet to submit and release data. When this conversation started, we spoke on these. We universities, public institutions, will they align? Will they be helpful? Because what we are seeing is state-owned, 115 state-owned institutions yet to submit and release data. So it means it's in their purview to do these, and 115 of them have not done that. It means students in these 115 universities might be denied access to that particular loan because their institutions would not submit. And these institutions must be questioned. ICPC intercepts 10 billion naira of COVID-19 fund in MDA account, 100 million in personal account. Get our money for us. NLC insists on 250,000 naira and vows to reject federal government 62,000 naira wage. Right, petrol scarcity lingers in Abuja. Queues resurface in the state. Concerns as socio-economic pressure heightens suicide missions among youths. Suicide is real, depression is real, but then you don't have to end it. Speak to someone. Don't get to the level that everything becomes gloomy and you can't even say the better part of life because as they say, there is always a light at the end of the tunnel, no matter how little, but then speak up and seek for help. Suicide is never an option. Better days ahead. That's all from the front page of The Guardian.
All right, from the Guardian newspaper this morning, let's see what we have on Daily Trust newspaper this time. Why fuel queues persist, spread by marketers with riders pump price hits 800 naira in Kanu. Others, black marketers sell at over 1,000 naira. Yes, I spoke about the black marketers earlier when we started the show. Of course, they will start to resurface by the roadside, and this really is not good for our country at this time. A lot of people have a lot to deal with already, and adding this to the list is not good enough. Away from that, Ruto faced Kenyan youths in rare X-Space meeting. Femi, I'm sure you must have, read, seen, or even watched that space meeting where the president of Kenya, William Ruto, was having a conversation with the citizens, with the youths most especially, and they were asking him questions, he was answering, and to his face, some people were calling him a liar when he made some particular statements, and the president came out, you know, explaining what he meant, what he didn't mean, and all of that, and he was making assurances and making more statements to the people on an X meeting.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I saw that, when I remembered how it was so a hard task for, especially for the past administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, for him to talk to us when we had issues at hand. You know, during the COVID-19, it took a long time before the president came out to talk. During the NSAS, where it climaxed in, you know, that chaotic event, it took a long time for the president
Nigerians were asking, where's the leader?
Exactly. So, you know, a lot of people really would see this as not the normal thing that would happen in this part of the world, in Nigeria. When I mean this part of the world, in Nigeria.
When leaders will be on a social media space,
exactly,
chatting with the people. I think William Ruto, you might want to say, got it wrong initially. You know, they wanted to do the normal African leader thing. You are called to question, and even if you are innocent, you just call their bluff to say nothing happened. There's the policies that have been churned out. Either you like it or you don't like it, just leave it like that. And the young people went to the street and they protested. They even went overboard, did whatever they did positively, and a couple of those things maybe not too good. And he was still, just like you said, after all those actions, he was still on social media space with them, chatting with them. They were calling him names. Instead of, you know, bottling out and just calling their bluff, he was still there answering questions, meaning I've not done well before. This is time for me to engage you people, and you are my people. And I think that's the way it should be.
It should be, because the people are the employers. It's like the employers calling you to question, and you're going to the employer
if only they will see it in that particular...
to you know, table down your case. This is why I did this. This is why I did that.
If only they will see it in that manner. And, you know, there was a president, Muhammadu Buhari to be precise, and people believed he kept malice with Nigerians for a long time. Whenever things are there that you need to see your leader and he's not talking. I remember one of his handlers would say he's about style. You remember? It's not his style. He's not garrulous. He doesn't speak. He speaks by action. And the actions are what we are seeing right now.
Yeah.
And, you know, before the election, presidential debate, a particular candidate was fenced off. No, he's busy. It's not by candidate. I mean, it's not by talking.
Debate.
It's not by debate. That will not... People are talking about his fitness. And we learned he's not planning for Olympics. I think his vice president still said that recently. No, this is about mental work. And before you know what's happened, they showed the candidate, who is now the president, you know, on a treadmill, cycling to show what are you doing here. But it's good to know that leaders, they should show that they are accountable. And then people will trust you to know that, oh, we're not comfortable with this thing. Let Oga speak to us. And this is the time for media briefing, media chat. You know, I think the last time we had something good with a media briefing, media chat was during Obasanjo, which was monthly. Yeah. It was televised, I remember, on NTA. And you see Obasanjo calling those journalists by name when you ask him question. Cyril, Eugenia, you know, these are the guys. But over the years, explanation. Yeah,
there's been a decline. I think we had a bit of that during the Jonathan administration too, you know. He was always quick to want to speak to the press about issues. You know,
Obasanjo stood out because you knew every month that happened, and it was televised. Yeah. He will give his answers. Either you agree or you don't agree is another thing. He calls you, Evelyn, and then he answers you. You remember you first clear his throat. These are the things. But the last administration, all right.
All right, of course, you know what they say in mathematics, show workings. Yeah. Sometimes you might have the wrong answer. I remember back then in mathematics, by the way, I wasn't that good in mathematics, but I managed to pass because I needed it. You know, back then, your workings might be wrong and you might get the correct answer. But the teacher wants to see your workings if you really probably copied it. And
to the answer. That's
exactly. And sometimes you may have a very good workings and you maybe at the tail end made a mistake and you got the wrong answer, and the teacher was like, okay, he knows what he's doing. I'm still going to give
And that
him or
final
her
answer will not
a
really
mark.
matter.
Exactly. So it's very important that the leaders will come out and show their workings. If you made a particular decision or you took a particular step, it may not make sense to the people, but by the time you come back, come out and tell them why you have made this particular decision, probably, maybe, they will reason with you and say, okay, he knows what he's doing. This is all what the people are asking from their leaders. And I don't think it's too much a thing to ask from their employees. I should put it out there. And moving on very quickly, still on Daily Trust newspaper this morning, FG exempts GEMCOs, DISCOs, others from withholding tax. Tinubu re-elected as chairman of ECOWAS. And the report on Samoa agreement, our position, you may want to read on page 3 of the Daily Trust of that particular report. So this agreement has generated a lot of controversy in the public space. Religious leaders, traditional leaders, leaders of thoughts all across the country are giving their opinion and calling the attention of the federal government to what this agreement may mean for our country. But then the minister has said that, Minister Bagudu has said that this is more of economy than, this perversity they're talking about. It is not about the LGBTQ. It's about economy growth and development for the country. We hope and truly hope that that is what it is. But whatever it is, we just hope they will come out and still show workings. It's not about them just releasing statements. Come and explain what the agreement is all about and what it means for the Nigerian people. That will be all from Daily Trust newspaper this morning.
All right. It's good because this controversial Samoa agreement, it's a lot, really. Different definitions, different analyses, conclusions by different persons. And that's why what you said earlier should be the order of the day. Whenever there is an agreement, whenever there is something controversial, the agency of government in charge, the minister in charge, or the leader should come and tell the people, it's about this. It's about this. Don't allow the wrong narratives to circulate. And I think that's what we usually do here in Nigeria, especially from government handlers. There is something controversial, people begin to put their meanings, put their narration on it, and it gets controversial, it gets negative, and then when the situation is, getting out of hand, you now see government handlers and their people coming to play catch-up on such a narration. The moment this thing made its way to the public space and people are raising eyebrows, you expect the people in charge, either it's a minister, either it's a permanent secretary, either it's the president, to come into place and speak to the people, speak with the people and tell them this is these things. Show documents, show the agreement, show the signatories, and then we can move on. That will, not give space for naysayers, not even naysayers, for genuinely, intentioned, people who have intentions, rather, people who have genuine intentions, I beg your pardon, to come and question these. Then you come, it's about A and B and C and D. But you will allow such controversy to go, and people will put all kind of caps and narration on it, and then after a while, the agency of government, the minister in charge, people saddled with the responsibility will now be playing catch up, to deflate, such controversy, and it should not be. The moment people are raising eyebrow, come and explain to the people. Maybe we might not be having, because we've had government that say it doesn't have anything to do about perversion, about LGBTQ. It's just a particular deal, and there have been clauses and sections in that agreement that have been put out there. But how come you are not the one? I think it's high time government own the narratives. The moment people raise eyebrow, is in your position to clear the matter, and don't lie about it, because sometimes you see them, they are deflective, and then they are trying to gaslight, and these are the reasons why people will not really agree to such a narrative. By the way, this will be the size of the headline segment this morning, and what we do in this particular segment is to reel out, churn out information and headlines from major dailies every day for you to be better, well informed even before you move out or as you are moving out, or wherever you are in different parts of the world. We take this break right now. When we come back, we will be speaking to issues, many political issues, development in different parts of the nation, from the center even to the subnationals as well. And we might be moving to the south part of the nation, one of the states where we will be speaking to stakeholders or a stakeholder to brief us on what is happening there at the political space. It's still Morning Spring on Western Spring Television. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly.